What's up, guys? We're back with another episode, and this time I'm going to break down UFC 298. I'm going to talk about the main card only. So I'm going to do my UFC 298 picks, but it's hard. I hate to pick just individual fighters because with fighting, it's so unpredictable. Anybody can win. It can be the biggest underdog. They can come out there and win, and this has happened several times. Some of the big fights that I can think of off the top of my head are when Matt Serra knocked out George St. Pierre. That was a huge upset. When Pena beat Amanda Nunes, I fought on that card. And then another one that was a huge upset was when Holly Holm knocked out Ronda Rousey. So that just goes to show you anything can happen. Most of those people are probably betting on the favorites, and they were like, I think the dogs that won those were anywhere from plus 800 to as high as 1100 or something like that. I'm just guessing. So I hate picking fights because it's so unpredictable, but I'll give you guys my point of view, and I'm a gambling man. So I like to throw out long shots and stuff that's gonna pay out really well, where I can get a big ROI. All right, the first fight on the main card is between Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, he's ranked number 15, and Roman Kopylov. Roman just took the fight, I want to say on like a 2.5, 3 week notice. They're both decorated strikers, but I feel Anthony Hernandez has the advantage in the wrestling and the grappling. And a lot of people in the UFC think he is like a jiu-jitsu and a grappling specialist, which he's really good, but he also comes from a solid foundation of striking. So I think he's way more well-rounded. I'm definitely going with Anthony Hernandez to get the job done in this fight. All right, so the second matchup is an intriguing fight. It's a bantamweight division. It's number 2 against number 3. It's Merab versus Henry Cejudo. And Merab is known for his grappling, and he's relentless with the takedowns, but he's fighting Henry Cejudo, who is a former U.S. Olympian. He won gold. I want to say he was one of the youngest wrestlers to ever win a gold medal. So it's going to be hard. I think in that sense, Henry Cejudo definitely has the wrestling advantage, even though Merab is so good and relentless with his takedowns and his grappling. And then as far as their striking goes, Merab is really well-rounded, and Cejudo, he was a Golden Glove boxer at the time, and he comes from a great camp. They both do. This is a fight that I'm looking forward to. It's one of those fights where it's a little challenging to pick because it is such a competitive fight and the guys are both so well-rounded. Whereas Merab is a minus 198 favorite and Cejudo is a plus 164 underdog. So from a betting standpoint, I would probably lean towards Cejudo just because I like to gamble, but it's a little tough to kind of pick, so you may want to stay away from this fight if you were to bet on it. All right, so the third fight on the main card is a welterweight bout between number 8 Jeff Neal and number 10 Ian Garry. Ian Garry is undefeated, and he has that confidence. He's never lost. He's really well-rounded, comes from a great camp, whereas Jeff Neal, he's a powerhouse, and this is definitely going to be Ian Garry's toughest fight to date. I think it's a big step up in competition, so he's going to be tested here. So it's another fight that I'm looking forward to. The entire card is stacked from top to bottom with some phenomenal matchmaking. I want to say Jeff Neal is a plus 200 underdog, and Ian Garry is a minus 245 favorite. Pretty lopsided line. So if you're a betting man and like to gamble like I do, you may want to lean towards Jeff Neal for the odds, but then again, I can see how both guys get the job done, and Ian Garry is a very talented fighter as well. And the co-main event is a middleweight fight. It's number 3 versus number 6, Robert Whitaker, a former middleweight champion, against Paulo Costa. Man, this is a great fight, for the fans and stuff like that. Robert Whitaker, I feel like he's more well-rounded, but Paulo Costa, he's going to be throwing power in every strike. He's just physically I feel like a more powerful fighter. Robert Whitaker is a minus 205 favorite, and Paulo Costa is a plus 170 underdog. I don't know who makes these lines because it's almost like a coin flip as well. So I'm looking forward to the fight. I can argue how both guys get the job done. And in the main event for UFC 298, this is the fight that I'm most looking forward to. It's the champion, Alexander Volkanovski, versus number 3, Ilia Topuria. And this is almost like a pick'em fight. I want to say Volkanovski is a -112 and Ilia is a -108. So it's basically a pick'em. It's a coin flip. The thing with this fight is so intriguing. It's hard to pick who's going to win. I can see how Volkanovski gets the job done, and it's hard to bet against him just because he is such a dominant champion and such a phenomenal fighter. Whereas Ilia Topuria, he's a young, hungry, up-and-coming fighter. He's undefeated right now, so he has that confidence. He's never tasted defeat, so it can really affect your fighting, or it can really increase like your capabilities because you don't know what it feels like to lose. I feel like Alexander Volkanovski, he comes from such a great camp, great coaches, and so they have phenomenal game plans. They dissect and break down their opponents and come up with the perfect recipe to beat these talented fighters. Whereas I feel like Ilia Topuria, you know, I feel like he's going to have the speed advantage. He may have the grappling advantage, but Volkanovski is so talented and hard to hold down. You don't ever see him just on his back not being able to get up. So it's a fight that I'm really looking forward to. I won't be too surprised if either guy wins, but if I had to bet, it's just hard to go against the champion. All right, so if I were to bet on the fights, which I can't now, you know, man, I like to gamble, so I would possibly kind of do a long shot, but I would go with some of the dogs. So I would do a 3-fight parlay. I would pick Jeff Neal. I would pick Henry Cejudo. And even though Anthony Hernandez isn't an underdog, I would throw him in the mix. So I got Hernandez, Cejudo, and Neal getting the job done. 3-fight parlay, it might pay out pretty well. All right, so those are my picks for UFC 298. You know, fights are so hard to call. I can always argue how both guys are gonna win the fight, and that's why the matchmakers are so good, because they make such even competitive fights. But I'm really looking forward to the main event. I'll be down in Anaheim this weekend, sitting cage side. Let me know who you guys have winning the fights. If you guys have any other picks or parlays, comment below, and stay tuned for the next episode.